So, with the confirmation that you'll be able to switch out your weapons in Halloween the game as Michael Myers, I thought it'd be pretty fun to make a sort of speculation slash wish list of every weapon I think is going to be in Halloween the game and every weapon I really want to see in Halloween the game. And this will range from things that are very likely like hammers, wrenches, screwdrivers, stuff like that, to things that are not very likely and maybe even impossible, but would still be pretty fun to use like katanas, crossbows, throwing knives, stuff like that. And not only will Michael be able to use these weapons, but I'm very certain that even the heroes of Haddonfield, the survivor class of Halloween the game, will also be able to use these weapons. And it'll open up a lot of replayability and a lot of variety in any given match versus just having a set item in your inventory to use in any given match. So with that out of the way, let's actually get into the confirmed weapons that are in Halloween the game so far. And that is obviously a kitchen knife, which I assume that Michael Myers will be spawning in with every single match. I don't think they're going to spawn you in with nothing in your hand at all to fight off the heroes of Haddonfield or the citizen, or kill off the citizens as well. So obviously I think you're going to spawn in with a kitchen knife, but the other confirmed items are as followed: a fire axe, a hatchet, a butcher's knife or cleaver, however you want to call it, a baseball bat, a sledgehammer, and one that is not confirmed quite yet, but is still very possible due to certain evidence, a fire poker. Now, my evidence for this is there are 2 games from Ilphonic that had fire pokers as weapons, so I think it's very obvious that they will be one: Friday and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Those were 2 weapons in the melee department for the humans, or the counselors in those games. And also in the trailer, we actually see a little row of fire pokers next to a chimney, and even in this shot right here, it's not confirmed what exactly is in Michael's hand right here, but it does very much look like a fire poker. I can't really tell, it could just be the skinny side of the knife that we're seeing right here, but it does very much look like a fire poker and not an actual kitchen knife, so maybe they're giving us a little hint. But moving on to the weapons that I think are very likely to be in Halloween the game, and that is as followed: a hammer, a wrench, a screwdriver, a machete, a crowbar, a tire iron, a pipe, a shovel, a frying pan, and a pair of garden shears. Starting off with the hammer, I think it's very likely that this weapon is going to be in Halloween the game because it is a very common slasher weapon that you see in these movies. Like, you know, for example, Jason used it in part 2, or Freddy used it in part 6, but Freddy's Dead. And even Michael has used a hammer on a couple different occasions throughout the franchise. Like, for example, he used it in Halloween 2 when he killed the security officer, or he used it in Halloween 2018 when he killed the lady in the pink bathrobe. Also, there are a couple other reasons why I think it's actually going to be in the game. Like, for example, there are 2 locations that I think are very likely to spawn hammers in general, and that is a hardware store and a mechanic shop. Now, it's not confirmed whether the hardware store or the mechanic shop are going to be in the multiplayer specifically, but I have a feeling if it's going to be in the single player, it's got to be in the multiplayer as well. And it'd also be a pretty cool weapon as well. You could probably switch it into different modes, like use the sharp end for like a little bit more damage, or use the blunt edge for like more crushing power, maybe to incapacitate your victims, make them a little dizzy or break their legs or something like that. Next one is a wrench. Now, my only evidence for this is, like I said before, there are 2 games from Ilphonic specifically that had wrenches as melee weapons, and that is Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Friday the 13th the game. So whether it's going to be a giant wrench like we see in Friday the 13th or a little teeny tiny wrench that we saw in Killer Clowns, couldn't really tell you. I have a feeling they're going to lean more onto the larger side just for a little bit of more oomph when they swing. But yeah. Screwdriver. Now, I'm not very confident in this one because I don't see like survivors using this weapon whatsoever, but I think it'd be a very good weapon to use on Myers specifically. Next up, we have the machete. Now, this is also one I'm not so confident in either, but obviously you would want to see Michael Myers use a machete, like a signature Jason Voorhees weapon, but with Michael Myers. That'd be pretty damn cool. I mean, he has used it in the past in Halloween 6, but that was more of like a surgical machete. But nonetheless, it'd be pretty damn cool to see Michael Myers using a fucking machete of all weapons. It'd be a nice callback to Friday the 13th the game, and also be a nice melee weapon for the survivors as well. The next 2 are the crowbar and a tire iron. Like I mentioned before, there is a mechanic shop in Halloween the game, so I think it's very likely that both these weapons are going to be in the game. Not so much the tire iron. I think the crowbar is more likely to be in the game. And like I mentioned for the hammer, it's multi-purpose as well. There's a sharp end that you use for stabbing and slashing, and there's a blunt end for more of like a crushing or incapacitation kind of effect. So crowbar I think is definitely going to be in the game, but tire iron, not so much. Next up we have a pipe, and my only evidence for this again is the fact that it was in F13 and Killer Clowns as melee weapons, and also Michael used it as one of his weapons in Dead by Daylight. The one that I'm not so convinced on is the next one, and that is a shovel. Now my reasoning for this is that there is a hardware store, so if there is a hardware store there's definitely going to be a shovel in there, but it is a suburban neighborhood, so there's going to be a lot of garden sheds, and where there are garden sheds there's probably also going to be some shovels. Yeah, a shovel will be pretty fun to use, and also it'd probably make a funny noise when you smack somebody with it, especially Michael. Like I imagine swinging that onto his head and it just makes a big old dong. Next up we have a frying pan or cooking pot. Now again, my evidence for this is the fact that it was in Friday and Killer Clowns as melee weapons in those games, so by that alone I think it's very likely. But also there was a shot in the Halloween game trailer of a cooking pot on top of the cooking stove. So now whether this is specifically going to be a survivor weapon or Michael can use it as well is not confirmed quite yet. I don't personally see Michael using a cooking pot, but you never know. It could offer up some cool like executions. Maybe it could be like an environmental one, like there's water in the pot itself and you like dunk the person's head inside of it and boil them alive. Maybe that could be a thing. That could be pretty cool. And lastly, for my highly likely weapons to be in Halloween the game, and that is garden shears. Now this goes by the same logic I had for the shovel, that there is a hardware store and there are garden sheds throughout the entire map, but also I think it'd be a pretty cool weapon to see Michael actually use, and I think it would offer up a lot of really cool execution animations. I do know it was in Friday the 13th the game as a Jason specific weapon, but that was mainly for the fact that he used it, or a Jason variant used it in part 5, but maybe they can transfer their experiences with the garden shears from that game on to Halloween the game. Next up we have the weapons that I think are still very possible but very unlikely at the same time, and that is as followed: a police baton, pool sticks, a pickaxe, a garden rake, a club as in a golf club, not like a medieval club or anything like that, a post hole digger, a sickle, a scythe, a syringe, a Halligan bar, a pitchfork, and a hacksaw. Now for the police baton specifically, I think it's very likely to be in the game because there is a police mechanic in Halloween the game, and we see in this screenshot right here specifically, the police are able to actually interact directly with Michael. Now whether this screenshot is showing us that Michael is being arrested in this circumstance, or whether this police is actually fighting Michael directly, it's not confirmed, but I have a feeling if you're able to actually kill a police officer, you're able to actually take his police baton from him and use it against the heroes of Haddonfield. That'd be pretty damn cool to see. And even in this screenshot right here, we see a police baton in the cop's hands. So I think, yeah, if you're able to kill him, you're able to actually take that away from him. Next up, we have pool sticks. Now, my reasoning for this is the fact that there is a Rabbit and Red Lounge location that is somewhat confirmed to be in the game. Right now, it's just concept art, but I do think at least in the single player, you will be able to be in the Rabbit and Red Lounge. And we see right here, there's actually a pool table. And if there's a pool table, there's going to be a pool stick. And if there's a pool stick, you can use that fucker as a weapon. Hell yeah. Maybe Michael will have to break it to make it sharp or something like that, but I think it'd be a pretty cool weapon nonetheless. Maybe you can also use like the pool balls as well, like throw them at the heroes, or maybe the heroes can throw pool balls at Michael. That'd be pretty fucking funny. Take notes, Halloween the game. I'm giving you ideas right here. Next up, we have a pickaxe, and this goes by the same logic for the shovel and the garden shears, that the fact there is a hardware store and a bunch of garden sheds throughout the entire map. So I do think a pickaxe could spawn in those locations. But at the same time, I don't really see a pickaxe being in Haddonfield in general. So, but next up we have the garden rake, and this is more of just like a wish list kind of item, because this was a weapon used by Michael in Halloween 5 to kill the other Michael, just to, you know, get rid of the confusion of two Michaels being in one movie. But yeah, I would really like to see this as a weapon, or at least like an environmental kill. Maybe there's like a garden rake in the location, and if you grab a survivor or take a survivor to that location, you can execute them by jamming it into their forehead like Michael did to the other Michael. That'd be pretty damn cool. Next up, we have a golf club. Now, I don't really have a good reasoning for this. I just think it'd be a funny weapon to see either Michael or the survivors used. But also, this is kind of like a white collar kind of preppy town, so I have a feeling there's going to be a bunch of golf clubs laying around all over the place. And again, you could probably use the golf balls as like projectile weapons against Michael and maybe make him slip on the golf balls. I don't know, set up traps, make Michael slip, or maybe even set up traps for these survivors. And I don't know. It'd be a pretty cool weapon to see either the survivors or Michael use. Now, this one is a little creative, and this is on my wish list specifically, and that is a post hole digger. And really just for the fact that it would have a really cool kill animation. I don't know if this was a kill from the Friday game specifically, or if I saw this in like a movie, can't remember, but there was a scene where somebody took a post hole digger, jammed it into somebody's heart, took their heart out and put the heart in their hands. I don't know if that was My Bloody Valentine or what, but I think that'd be a pretty damn cool kill animation, don't you think? But next up we have a sickle and a scythe. Now I put these two in the same category because they're kind of the same weapon, and they can also both be found on farm locations. So if there is a farm in Halloween the game, I do think these are very likely to actually be in the game. But also this is a pretty cool weapon to see in Halloween 5 when Michael used it to slice that devil girl's neck open. I do think this would probably be a risky weapon to use on both Michael and the survivor side because it is a very, or at least the scythe specifically. The sickle is a very fast using weapon, but the scythe is a very large weapon that takes a lot to actually swing around, so I don't think it's going to be very useful against Michael. If you're trying to fight Michael and he has like a kitchen knife or something like that, you're kind of fucked. Or if you're Michael and you're using it and you're going against people using like, you know, pocket knives or syringes or baseball bats or something like that, you're gonna kind of be fucked, but it'd still be a cool weapon nonetheless. Next up we have a syringe. Now this is also on my wish list specifically because in Halloween 2 we saw Michael use this against one of the nurse ladies, and he like injected a bubble into one of the girls' head. But it was also used in Evil Dead the game as a melee weapon, and it was like a really fast melee weapon as well. You can like stun lock demons with it non-stop with that shit. You know, using syringes and using them in like a fast-paced kind of way, and if there is a stun lock mechanic, that'd be a pretty fun weapon to use on the survivor side. I don't know about Michael specifically. Like I mentioned before, there was a really cool kill animation from Halloween 2 specifically, but I don't think it'd be a very good weapon for Michael in general, so yeah. Next up on my wish list specifically, and that is a Halligan bar. If you guys know me, I love Halloween kills so fucking much, and one of the weapons that Michael used in that movie against a firefighter specifically was a Halligan bar, and it is a multi-purpose tool. You can use it to smack people with it, you can stab people with it, you can slash people with it. It could be a badass fucking weapon. If they do actually have all the Halloween movies come in as DLCs, I would really like to see this as a melee weapon come with that pack. Now that I think about it, if they do have like different versions of Michael in the game, they would have different weapons for each Michael. Like Halloween 1 Michael, you would use obviously a kitchen knife. Halloween 2 Michael, you use that little what's it called, the scalpel. Halloween 5 you can use the scythe. Halloween 6 you can use the surgical machete. I mean, Halloween 2018 you can use a hammer. Halloween Kills you can have a Halligan as his main weapon. But yeah, like the different Michaels can offer up different main melee weapons that they spawn in with every single match. That'd be pretty damn cool. I definitely will be maining Halloween Kills Myers if that is the case. Next up we have a pitchfork. Now I'm going by the same logic I did with the scythe and the sickle, that there is probably going to be a farm map in Halloween the game, so if that's the case, that'd be a pretty cool weapon. I don't know how it would be used as kind of like in a swinging motion, because I feel like the main animations for all the melee weapons is going to be like a big heavy swing, so I don't see a pitchfork being really used in that manner. It's more of like a stabbing weapon rather than a swinging weapon, but you never know. You can have different animations for different weapons in the game, so that'd be pretty cool. And lastly, for our possible weapons, we have a hacksaw. Now again, I don't see this weapon being used as sort of like a melee weapon. I could see it more used as like an execution or an environmental kill for Michael specifically. And it's also like a nice little callback to the Charlie Bowles story that the graveyard guy had told to Dr. Loomis back in Halloween 1.
I remember over in Russellville, old Charlie Bowles went out to the garage and he got himself a hacksaw.
Lastly, we have the weapons I think are very unlikely to be in the game, but would still be pretty fun to use, and that is as followed. A chainsaw, a clothing iron, a fluorescent light bulb, a javelin, a sword, a flail, a katana, throwing knives, a hook, and a crossbow. Now, for the chainsaw specifically, I do not see this being in the game by any means whatsoever, because Michael is a stealthy killer and a chainsaw is not a very stealthy weapon, or would not go very well with Michael specifically. Maybe it could be a survivor weapon, maybe it could be an environmental kill, who knows, but I do not see a chainsaw being put into the game, but it would still be pretty funny to see Michael use. Next up, we have a clothing iron. Now, this is more of like a joke weapon specifically, because if you remember in Halloween Kills, when everybody was like surrounding Michael at that final scene, and there was this one lady who brought a clothing iron to fight Michael Audrey Myers of all people.
Michael Audrey Myers.
I mean, props to creativity, but how the fuck do you think you're going to get a single hit in with a fucking clothing iron, god damn it? Anyways, crash out aside, my next one is also a Halloween Kills callback, and that is the fluorescent light bulb. Now, this is more of like a wish list item that I would really like to see, but I know it kind of wouldn't work because it is a light bulb. It wouldn't really last all that long, but maybe that could be the function of light bulb. Maybe it's like a super powerful weapon, but it's a single hit, like a shotgun, like a shotgun is like a single hit weapon in most of these ASIM games, but it's really strong. So maybe a fluorescent light bulb could be a really strong weapon, but shatters on impact. I don't know. Next up, we have a javelin. Now, I do not see Michael using this weapon by any means, because here's the thing. We've never seen Michael actually throw anything in any of the movies ever, except Bucky from Halloween 4. And speaking of Bucky from Halloween 4, that is going to be my next melee. No, I'm kidding. That is not my my choice of a weapon. But for the javelin specifically, I still think it'd be a pretty fun weapon to use, especially against people who are using like a bunch of ranged weapons. Or like there's a whole group of survivors. Imagine there's a whole group of survivors like in front of you at the end of an alleyway, and you do not want to go anywhere near them because they have a bunch of baseball bats, fire axes, shotguns, everything like that. And you could just yeet a fucking javelin at them and kill one of them instantly. That'd be fucking hilarious, dude. But yeah, I don't know how they would implement this weapon into the game. I mean, there is a high school in Haddonfield, so maybe they can have like a track and field update or a track and field DLC where they have these different cosmetics and they can add the javelin as a weapon in general. But I don't see them adding this to the game by any means. Next up, we have a sword and a flail. Now, like I mentioned before, I don't see this being put into the game because I don't see this in Haddonfield or Michael using this in general. And who knows, maybe they can have like a LARPing DLC, a live action roleplay DLC with like all these knight cosmetics and wizard and shit like that. And maybe you can have a sword and a flail as one of the DLC weapons. That'd be pretty cool. Next up, I have a katana, just for the sheer fact that it would look badass in Michael's hands in general. But yeah, I don't see this as a weapon whatsoever in Halloween the game. But they could have like a samurai DLC. I don't know. I mean, it's Halloween. Like, people can dress up as anything they want. Maybe some fucker dressed up as a samurai or a demon slayer or something like that. Actually, demon slayers didn't exist in this time. A samurai, and they had a real fucking katana for whatever reason. I don't know. Next up, we have throwing knives. Now, my only reasoning for this is the fact that Jason used this in Friday the 13th, the game, but that was more just the fact that he did use them in the series at one point. Like I said before, Michael has never thrown anything in Halloween except Bucky from Halloween 4, so yeah, like I just don't see throwing knives being put into the game, but they would still be pretty fun to use nonetheless, especially for the survivors. Next up, we have a welding torch. Now, this comes from Halloween Ends, when Corey Cunningham specifically used this. I don't think Michael is creative enough. Actually, Michael is very creative. I don't know. It could be used as a environmental kill. Who knows? There is a, what's it called, a mechanic shop in Halloween the game, so maybe there could be a welding torch somewhere nearby in the mechanic shop. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities in this game, but I just don't see Michael using this. For my next weapon, I have a hook, as in like a fisherman's hook, and this would be a nice callback to like movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Candyman and stuff like that. But again, I don't really see how you could put this into the game and like make it make sense, because Haddonfield is in the middle of the United States. There's no fishing niche inside of Haddonfield by any means, so a fisherman's hook wouldn't really make sense, but it'd still be a pretty cool weapon nonetheless. And lastly, which also I forgot to mention with my live action roleplay DLC, and that is a crossbow. Now, I don't see Michael specifically using this weapon by any means, but it would be a pretty cool weapon to have on the survivor side to add on to the firearms weapon arsenal with the pistol and the shotguns, and maybe this could serve its own little purpose besides just doing damage to Michael or stunning Michael. Maybe if you shoot Michael with the crossbow, it does like bleed damage and it slowly depletes his health over time if there is like a sort of health bar situation in Halloween the game, if you can actually like kill Michael. Actually, no, you can't kill Michael. Fuck. Shit. Damn it. Never mind. Which maybe could like be it could contribute to his stun bar. Maybe the more you hit Michael, the more stun progress he gets, and maybe this can like increase it tenfold. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out of my ass right now. But yeah, that is all the weapons I would like to see and think that will actually be in Halloween the game. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about my list. Would you add anything else? Would you take something away? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm taking crazy pills, huh? Are you saying I should be admitted into Smith's Grove? If so, I agree with you. But yes, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you next time.
God damn you.